Judith Lorber's article titled, "The Social Construction of Gender," discusses the concept of gender as a social construct rather than a purely biological or innate trait. This article is found in the book, Women's Lives, Multicultural Perspectives. Below is a full summary of the key points and ideas presented in the article. Introduction to Gender as a Social Construct. Lorber begins by challenging the traditional notion of gender as a fixed and binary concept based solely on biological differences. She argues that gender is not just about the differences between male and female bodies, but rather a complex social phenomenon that varies across cultures and historical periods. Gender is a social institution. Lorber emphasizes that gender is not just an individual attribute but a social institution that structures various aspects of society, including expectations, behaviors, roles, and opportunities. She suggests that gender is performed and learned through social interactions and cultural norms. Processes of socialization. Lorber discusses how gender is learned through socialization. Children are exposed to gender norms and expectations from a young age through family, media, education, and other social institutions. These influences shape their understanding of how to behave and present themselves as either male or female. Performing gender. Lorber introduces the concept of doing gender. This refers to the constant performance of behaviors, roles, and identities that align with socially constructed notions of masculinity and femininity. These performances are not just individual actions but are reinforced by societal expectations and reactions. Reinforcement of gender norms. The article highlights how society enforces gender norms through rewards and sanctions. Individuals who conform to traditional gender roles and behaviors are often rewarded with acceptance and validation, while those who deviate may face social ostracism or criticism. Intersectionality. Lorber acknowledges the complexity of gender by discussing intersectionality, the idea that gender intersects with other social categories such as race, class, and sexuality. These intersections create unique experiences for individuals that cannot be understood solely through the lens of gender. Gender inequality. Lorber also discusses how the social construction of gender contributes to gender inequality. Gender norms often lead to unequal distribution of power, resources, and opportunities between men and women, as well as other gender identities. Challenging the binary. The article encourages readers to challenge the binary understanding of gender. Lorber argues that acknowledging gender diversity and the existence of non-binary, transgender, and other gender identities helps to better understand the complexity of gender as a social construct. Changing gender norms. Lorber concludes by discussing the potential for change in gender norms and roles. She highlights that social change can challenge traditional gender expectations and lead to greater equality and acceptance of diverse gender expressions. In summary, Judith Lorber's article, "The Social Construction of Gender," argues that gender is a socially constructed phenomenon that goes beyond biology, and it shapes various aspects of society and individuals' lives. This perspective challenges traditional binary views of gender and encourages a more inclusive and nuanced understanding of the diverse ways in which people express their identities. Simple definition. Gender being a social construct means that the ideas about what it means to be a boy, a girl, or something else are made up by people in society, and they can change over time. Simple example. Imagine you're playing with toys. Some people might say that only boys should play with trucks and only girls should play with dolls. But that's not a rule from nature, it's a rule that people made up. That's what social construct means. It's like a pretend rule that people follow because they agree on it. So, when someone says that gender is a social construct, they mean that things like which clothes are for boys or girls, or what jobs are for men or women, are ideas that people decided on, not something that's set in stone. And these ideas can change as more people understand that everyone can like and do different things no matter their gender. Judith Lorber's article, "The Social Construction of Gender." Several key themes are explored to highlight the concept of gender as a social construct. Here are the main themes discussed in the article. Socialization and learning. This theme underscores how individuals learn about gender roles, behaviors, and expectations through interactions with family, media, education, and society. Children absorb these norms and beliefs as they grow up, shaping their understanding of what it means to be a boy, girl, or another gender. Performance of gender. The concept of performing gender is a central theme. People continually act out their gender roles and identities in their daily lives. This performance involves adhering to societal norms and expectations, demonstrating behaviors considered appropriate for their perceived gender. Norm reinforcement and deviance. Gender norms are reinforced through rewards and punishments. Individuals who conform to expected gender roles receive approval, while those who deviate from these roles might face criticism or rejection. This theme highlights the pressure to conform to established gender norms. Intersectionality. The theme of intersectionality highlights that gender intersects with other aspects of identity, such as race, class, and sexuality. This intersection shapes individuals' experiences, as they navigate various layers of identity-based expectations and discrimination. Gender inequality. The article addresses how the social construction of gender contributes to inequality between genders. Traditional gender norms can result in unequal power dynamics, opportunities, and resources between men and women, perpetuating gender-based disparities. Challenging the binary. Challenging the binary view of gender is a significant theme. The article encourages a broader understanding of gender that includes non-binary, transgender, and other gender identities beyond just male and female. This theme promotes inclusivity and recognizes the diversity of gender expressions. Social change. The article suggests that societal change can challenge and reshape gender norms. As people become more aware of the constructed nature of gender and the importance of equality, they can work to break down restrictive gender roles and promote more open-minded perspectives. Cultural variation. The idea that gender is socially constructed implies that it can vary across cultures and historical contexts. This theme emphasizes that what is considered masculine or feminine can differ based on the cultural norms and values of a particular society. These themes collectively contribute to Lorber's argument that gender is not an inherent biological trait but a complex social phenomenon that influences individuals' identities, interactions, and opportunities in society. Let's delve into a brief analysis of Judith Lorber's article, The Social Construction of Gender. Importance of the article. This article is significant because it challenges the traditional understanding of gender as solely rooted in biology and highlights the role of social factors in shaping gender identity, roles, and norms. Lorber's work has been influential in promoting a more nuanced perspective on gender, which has contributed to discussions around gender equality, identity, and social change. Social construct theory. Lorber's article is rooted in the social construct theory, which posits that many aspects of human experience, including gender, are products of social and cultural influences rather than predetermined by biology. This theory encourages us to critically examine how society constructs and reinforces certain ideas about gender roles and behaviors. Performance of gender. Lorber's concept of doing gender emphasizes that gender is not just something one is, but something one performs through actions and behaviors. This highlights the active role individuals play in conforming to or challenging societal gender expectations. It also suggests that gender identity is not fixed, but rather something that is continually created and recreated through interactions. Gender inequality and norms. The article draws attention to how gender norms can contribute to inequality. Traditional gender roles often assign different social roles, responsibilities, and opportunities to individuals based on their perceived gender. This reinforces power imbalances between genders and limits individual potential. Intersectionality. Lorber's incorporation of the concept of intersectionality enriches the analysis by acknowledging that gender intersects with other aspects of identity, such as race, class, and sexuality. This recognition highlights the complexity of lived experiences and the need to address multiple forms of discrimination. Social change and inclusivity. By challenging the binary view of gender and advocating for inclusive perspectives, Lorber's article encourages social change. It prompts readers to question and reshape their attitudes toward gender, leading to greater acceptance of diverse gender expressions and identities. Cultural relativity. The article indirectly acknowledges the influence of culture on the construction of gender. By acknowledging that gender norms can vary across cultures and historical periods, the article prompts readers to consider how cultural values and norms contribute to their understanding of gender. Limitations and critiques. Some critiques of Lorber's work include concerns about downplaying the biological aspects of gender and not fully accounting for the complexity of gender identity. Some argue that biological factors do play a role in shaping gender identity, and a complete understanding of gender requires considering both biological and social factors. In conclusion, Judith Lorber's article, The Social Construction of Gender is a seminal work that challenges traditional views of gender by highlighting its social, performative, and culturally contingent nature. This article has been instrumental in shaping contemporary discourse on gender, influencing discussions on equality, representation, and identity. Let's examine Judith Lorber's article, The Social Construction of Gender, more deeply. 1. Theoretical foundation. Lorber's article is rooted in social constructionist theory, which suggests that human experiences and identities, including gender, are socially constructed rather than determined solely by biology. This theoretical foundation challenges essentialist perspectives that view gender as biologically fixed. By emphasizing the performative and learned nature of gender, Lorber contributes to the broader discussion on the influence of society on individual identity. 2. Performance of gender. Lorber's concept of doing gender is a central point of analysis. This idea illustrates how individuals actively engage in behaviors and expressions that align with societal expectations of their assigned gender. The performance of gender is not just an individual act but is influenced by broader cultural norms and structures. This concept is essential for understanding how individuals internalize and reproduce societal gender norms through their actions. 3. Norms and reinforcement. The article's exploration of the reinforcement of gender norms contributes to understanding the mechanisms that uphold traditional gender roles. By illustrating how individuals who adhere to these norms are rewarded and those who deviate face sanctions, Lorber highlights the social pressure to conform. This analysis encourages readers to critically examine the consequences of normative gender expectations on individuals' lives. 4. Intersectionality. Lorber's inclusion of intersectionality enriches the analysis by acknowledging that gender intersects with other aspects of identity. This recognition underscores the complexity of individuals' experiences and challenges a one-dimensional understanding of identity and discrimination. The intersectional approach prompts readers to consider how different identities intersect and shape unique experiences of privilege and oppression. 5. Gender inequality. The discussion of gender inequality is a critical aspect of the article. Lorber highlights how the construction of gender contributes to unequal power dynamics and opportunities between genders. This theme serves as a foundation for discussions on feminism, social justice, and the need to challenge and transform traditional gender norms for a more equitable society. 6. Social change and activism. Lorber's article indirectly encourages readers to engage in social change and activism. By challenging the binary view of gender and promoting inclusivity, the article suggests that individuals can play a role in reshaping societal perceptions of gender. This theme aligns with broader movements for gender equality and LGBTQ+ rights. 7. Historical and cultural context. The article acknowledges that ideas about gender are not static but shaped by historical and cultural contexts. This recognition prompts readers to consider how different societies and time periods construct and interpret gender differently. It underscores the malleability of gender norms and the potential for change over time. 8. Limitations and ongoing debates. While the article offers a compelling perspective on gender as a social construct, it also faces criticism. Some scholars argue that biological factors do play a role in gender identity formation, and the article's exclusive focus on social construction might overlook the potential interplay between biology and culture. Additionally, ongoing debates exist about the extent to which certain gendered behaviors are learned versus innate. In conclusion, Judith Lorber's article, The Social Construction of Gender, has had a profound impact on gender studies and related fields. Its exploration of the performative, learned, and socially constructed nature of gender identity challenges traditional norms and encourages a more inclusive understanding of gender diversity. The article's themes provide a foundation for discussions on inequality, social change, and identity that remain relevant and influential in contemporary discourse. Let's provide an example to illustrate the concepts discussed in Judith Lorber's article, The Social Construction of Gender. Example: gendered clothing norms. Traditional view. In many societies, there's a traditional view that boys wear pants and shirts, while girls wear dresses and skirts. This view suggests that clothing is directly linked to a person's biological sex. Boys are expected to look and dress a certain way, and girls are expected to look and dress differently. Social construction perspective. However, from a social construction perspective, these clothing norms are not set in stone by nature. Instead, they are created by society and culture. For example, in the past, it was common for young boys to wear dresses until a certain age, and clothing styles have changed over time and across cultures. Performance of gender. People actively participate in performing these clothing norms. Parents dress their infants in clothes that signify their gender, and children learn which clothing is appropriate for their gender through observation and reinforcement. This learned behavior becomes a part of their identity and how they express their gender. Norm reinforcement and deviance. If a boy were to wear a dress or a girl were to wear pants in a society with strong gendered clothing norms, they might face reactions ranging from surprised looks to outright criticism. These reactions reinforce the idea that certain clothes are meant only for specific genders, and they can discourage individuals from deviating from the established norm. Intersectionality. Intersectionality comes into play when considering how different people are affected by these norms. For example, a transgender individual who identifies as a woman might feel pressured to conform to feminine clothing norms, but they might also face additional challenges due to their transgender identity. Similarly, individuals from different cultural backgrounds might have different clothing norms and expectations. Social change. Over time, societal attitudes toward gendered clothing norms have been changing. Many people now advocate for gender-neutral clothing options that allow individuals to express themselves regardless of their gender. This social change reflects a growing awareness of the constructed nature of these norms and a desire to challenge them for a more inclusive and accepting society. This example illustrates how clothing norms, often considered a basic expression of gender, are actually socially constructed ideas that can be questioned, challenged, and changed over time. It showcases how Judith Lorber's concepts of social construction, gender performance, and norm reinforcement play out in a real-life context. Let's explore another example to further illustrate the concepts from Judith Lorber's article, The Social Construction of Gender. Example: gender roles in the workplace. Traditional view. Historically, certain jobs and roles have been associated with specific genders. For instance, jobs like nursing and teaching have been stereotypically considered women's work, while roles in engineering and leadership have often been seen as more suitable for men. These traditional views have contributed to a gender-based division of labor in the workplace. Social construction perspective. From a social construction perspective, these gender roles in the workplace are not determined by biology but are constructed by society's beliefs and expectations. The idea that certain jobs are better suited for one gender over another is a societal norm that has been developed and perpetuated over time. Performance of gender. Individuals in the workplace often perform their gender roles according to these constructed norms. Women might feel pressure to be nurturing and cooperative, while men might feel compelled to display assertiveness and confidence. This performance aligns with the socially constructed expectations of how men and women should behave in professional settings. Norm reinforcement and deviance. When individuals deviate from these gendered workplace norms, they may face consequences. A woman who speaks assertively in a meeting might be labeled as aggressive, while a man who expresses vulnerability might be seen as weak. Such reactions from colleagues and superiors reinforce the traditional gender norms and discourage behavior that challenges these norms. Intersectionality. Intersectionality becomes evident when considering how gender roles intersect with other aspects of identity. For instance, a woman of color might face compounded biases as she navigates the workplace, as both gender and race can influence how she is perceived and treated by others. Social change. Over time, there have been efforts to challenge and change these traditional gender roles in the workplace. Advocacy for equal pay, diversity and inclusion initiatives, and breaking down stereotypes have all contributed to shifting perceptions of gender roles in professional settings. This reflects a broader societal recognition of the need for more inclusive and equitable workplaces. This example demonstrates how gender roles in the workplace are socially constructed and have far-reaching impacts on individuals' behavior, opportunities, and perceptions. It shows how these roles are learned, performed, and reinforced, while also highlighting the potential for change through social awareness and activism. Let's explore another example to further illustrate the concepts from Judith Lorber's article, The Social Construction of Gender. Example: toys and gender stereotypes. Traditional view. In many societies, there's a common belief that certain toys are meant for boys and others for girls. Boys are often encouraged to play with action figures, cars, and building sets, while girls are encouraged to play with dolls, kitchen sets, and crafts. This division of toys based on gender reinforces the idea that there are distinct interests and behaviors associated with each gender. Social construction perspective. From a social construction perspective, these toy preferences and divisions are not inherent to boys or girls but are shaped by societal norms and expectations. These norms dictate what is considered appropriate play for each gender and influence how children are encouraged to develop certain skills and interests. Performance of gender. Children actively perform these gendered roles when they engage in play. A boy who plays with action figures might be acting out the role of a hero or adventurer, aligning with the societal expectation of bravery and strength. Similarly, a girl playing with dolls might be enacting caregiving behaviors, conforming to the idea of nurturing and empathy. Norm reinforcement and deviance. When children deviate from these gendered toy norms, they might face reactions from peers, parents, or caregivers. For example, a boy who wants to play with dolls might be teased for not adhering to the expectations of his assigned gender. These reactions reinforce the idea that certain toys are reserved for specific genders. Intersectionality. Intersectionality comes into play when considering how these gendered toy norms intersect with other aspects of identity. A transgender child, for instance, might experience additional challenges and pressures when their toy preferences do not align with their assigned gender. Social change. In recent years, there has been a growing movement to challenge gender stereotypes in toys. Companies have started producing more inclusive and diverse toys that break away from traditional gender norms. This reflects an awareness that children's play and development should not be limited by rigid gender expectations. This example highlights how something as simple as children's toys is deeply embedded in societal norms and expectations around gender. It demonstrates how the social construction of gender influences early childhood experiences, shaping behaviors and interests in ways that can impact future identities and opportunities.